Marijuana dims the human spirit over time. When people first started smoking, it's usually to have a fun adventure. As time goes on, years and years later, they find themselves no longer having fun when they smoke. If anything, it's to get normal instead of high. Becoming lazy, unmotivated, and finding yourself doing nothing. So, how is that better than being sober? Sure, being sober can have its struggles. You might need to start addressing the very aspects of yourself you're avoiding now. Anxiety, depression, ADHD, and so on are very real and challenging things to overcome, especially with the boredom most experience when being sober. But let's face it, being bored when sober is often a side effect of being a stranger to who you really are when you're not altered. If you knew how to change or fix these issues you have, I'm sure you would have done so by now. The subconscious mind is a powerful thing. It is the baseline to who we are, and then there is the conscious thought that stems from that. So you can consciously say, I want to quit something. And if your subconscious is not wanting to quit that substance, your conscious eventually will run out of willpower or drive or motivation to stay sober. And eventually the subconscious mind will come back around and take all of the reasons to why you wanted to be sober, to be free of that substance, and it will actually come up with alternative viewpoints, opinions, thoughts, etc., to why you might want to start picking it up again. And it's kind of like this background voice to the addiction, to where people say, I was doing really good, and then all of a sudden I've just been really struggling to not smoke. And then when they go to smoke, oftentimes it's justified. It makes sense. I'll do it in moderation. This time I actually will have control, and I'll be more structured in the way that I approach my relationship with marijuana. Yet time and time again, if a person's vigilant and pays attention, they often don't go down the path of moderation. And if anything, they continue to have an even more addictive personality towards marijuana and their personal experience. So if this is something that you have struggled with before and you've tried to be sober, you've tried to get away from being dependent on marijuana, finding ways to not be so bored when you are sober, and getting over things like the anxiety, the depression, and ADHD, and so on, yet you have addressed certain aspects that you thought were the problem, yet you go back to still experiencing a lot of these uncomfortable scenarios, relapsing, still finding that depression's a theme in your life, still finding anxiety is a thing that you consistently struggle with. So if this is something that you think that you are able to overcome, yet in the past, if you can look back at these things and you realize, I've addressed a lot of things. I've tried maybe yoga. I've tried deep breathing. I've tried having an accountability buddy. I've eliminated all weed paraphernalia in the house. I've even, made sure to, get rid of any of the marijuana in the house. Yet now you're finding yourself going back and buying a new bowl and picking up marijuana again and buying more of the weed paraphernalia again, and going down the same path that you were so determined at one point in time to not have an issue with anymore. That's why you got rid of those things originally. That's why you distanced yourself from those things. Yet, like a flip of a switch, a completely 180 perspective tends to happen. You tend to justify that maybe I was making a big deal. Weed makes me feel so much better. and I actually am far more productive and whatnot if I smoke. Versus when you quit, it's, you know what, it's really not helping my anxiety that much. If anything, I'm finding I'm having anxiety when I'm even high, and so on. And that's why you were getting sober. So these are just some small insights to the many struggles that people have, to where their spirit kind of gets dimmed over time. It's no longer this fun, adventurous thing, hanging out with some friends, and it's a social thing. It's now just become a way of living. It's how you navigate the many ups and downs of your life. And if anything, you're using it more for coping than you're really using it for a fun time. And that's how you'll know if you're struggling with an addiction. And if you become defensive or triggered from any of my videos, typically I'm never going to reply to them, and if they're rude, I will absolutely block you in a heartbeat. But if that happens to you, it's something that you might want to pay attention to, because if you have a reaction to a video I post, it's because it's hitting home on some level. It's personal. If I told you the color green is a stupid color, very few of you are going to be up in arms against me to defend why green is such an amazing color and I'm absolutely wrong where green sucks. Because let's face it, it's not something personal or intimate to ourselves. So when I say, marijuana is an addictive substance that I think a lot of people should be quitting, and that upsets you, that's because on some level, it has elicited an emotional response, because it is a part of who you are, and it is now challenging this inner narrative that you have. It's a different perspective that makes your system feel uncomfortable. Hence the need to reach out and say something, and oftentimes in the hopes to kind of get some kind of engagement back to where you can defend your own version of reality. Now, I will tell you this firsthand. Most couples arguments, most arguments in life tend to actually stem from one or both people trying to deny, debunk, or belittle the other person's reality. If you and I went to go see a movie together, and then we were asked to describe the movie in great detail and as accurately as possible, both of us are going to have a completely different recall of that movie. We're going to have different parts that we liked. There's going to be different aspects that we talk about, and there's going to be some aspects that the other person completely doesn't even bring up. And what that means is that your reality is just that. It's yours. It's not mine. And my reality is just that. It's mine and it's not yours. So mature people are able to navigate that understanding in life. And rather than fight about, well, that actually was a good movie, when I may disagree and say, I didn't think it was that great, that's kind of the point, is that both people have a different perspective in life, a different reality. So if this hits home for you, the things or the videos that I make here, and you feel like this is something you're struggling with, I want you to know that you're not alone, and there are people out here that are willing and able to help you get over this addiction. So when you're ready, reach out.